Good morning. Welcome to Up to the Minute. I'm Todd Duplantis, and it's good to have you with us on the show. We've got a big show lined up for you. It's hashtag Film Friday. And of course, it's just finally Friday. And we've got a 3-day weekend coming up. So I can't go wrong with that. My special guest host this morning, guest co-host, Joe Sam, joining us in the house. Joe, you were good to see you again. You're, of course, the communications outreach coordinator at HCC Central College. But you were a guest on the show a few months back, and I warned you we were gonna pull you into the show again. Once you don't really leave TV because you always wind up popping back up in again and in. Let's see if we can get you to unmute your mic. I think your mic's still muted.
Awesome. There we go. So it is so good to be back and to see you again. I'm excited to be co-hosting the show with you today on this Finally Friday.
Hashtag Finally Friday. That's right. A lot to celebrate today. And we got a 3-day weekend. You can't go wrong with that. I'm ready for this one. You know, it seems like we get, we certainly get we're very grateful because we get a lot of holidays with HCC. President's Day, though, it's a controversial one for me because it pops up in the middle of like doing stuff. And although you appreciate the 3-day weekend, you're like, we had some stuff we needed to do anyway. This one I'm ready for because it kind of kicks off the summer. Memorial Day.
Yes, it does. And it kicks off barbecue season. So I'm going to be throwing a brisket on the grill, celebrating Memorial Day with my family and friends. And I'm sure you're going to be doing the same.
I will. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a nice weekend. Hey, we want to thank everybody watching us on Facebook Live and YouTube. We're here just about every morning at 10 a.m. live when HCC is in session. And Joe, they can always catch us on social media and on HCCTV as well.
They absolutely can. So we are live on Houston Community College District Facebook page, not HCC. On YouTube as well. We are also on Twitter, LinkedIn, and on HCC TV at noon, 5, and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday. So make sure you catch it. You don't want to miss it. Some incredible shows and incredible guests.
That's right. So, Joe, stick around because you're going to be talking with this next guest. We're continuing to celebrate Asian American Pacific Islander Month. And our own Dr. Lana Pagao is joining us. She's the communications director out at HCC's Northwest College. Lana, good to see you. Of course, you've been a guest on the show, but you're normally a co-host with me.
That's right. Good morning. It's kind of fun to be on this side.
Well, we had you on, I guess it was a couple of years ago, you were on your story. And Joe, if you haven't heard, it's an incredible story. And Lana's going to tell us her story and what this month means to her. So Lana, stick around. We'll be with you in about 10 minutes. Okay, we're going to kick things off with Film Friday. We're talking to a fellow podcaster combining a blend of history buff and a film buff, all of that into one passion. And he's found others with like minds. Dr. Jason Herbert is joining us. He's a historian, ethnographer, and podcaster with Historians at the Movies. Good to see you, Jason.
Hi, Todd. Good morning. Welcome to traditional homelands of Seminole and Miccosukee peoples down here in South Florida today.
So you're in South Florida, but you're originally from Kentucky and you lived in Louisiana and you had name pronunciation changes going on as well, right?
Yeah, we've got a wide diaspora here in the Herbert family. So Herbert, Abear, just anything else you want to, anything else. But yeah, absolutely. Kentucky, Louisiana, Tennessee, Florida. I did my graduate school in Minnesota. All over the place.
So you've got a podcast. It's kind of an interesting concept. It's Historians at the Movies. And you podcast, but you also get a Twitter following going and you tweet during these movies. How does it work? Do you watch movies and go, this is crazy, there's nothing historical about this? Or do you just give your own take on it? How does it work?
Well, so Historians at the Movies actually started, like so many great things, by accident about 5 years ago. We're coming up on our 5th anniversary here in July. And, for historians, there's always been this rivalry with anthropologists and archaeologists. Archaeologists get Indiana Jones. They get Harrison Ford. But historians get Nicolas Cage. We get Benjamin Franklin Gates. But there's still a love for National Treasure. And I had seen it was available on Netflix one night and said on Twitter, hey, we should all watch it. And we got a whole bunch of people together, and we did. We watched it, we live tweeted and so forth. And we did that, and I thought it was the one time we would do it. And then immediately folks were like, we have to go again. So then we did Lincoln the following week, and then it was Coco, and then Trading Places. And we were off to the races, after that. And essentially what it is, it's not just historians, because that's boring. It's people from all walks of life getting together who love history, who love film, who love films about history. And sure, there's a bit of, hey, this happened or that happened and things like that. But really what it is It's about building community, especially in 2023. One thing we know is that people love movies. They love history, but what they really love are other people. So here's an opportunity to take the things that we love and unite everyone else. So that's what we've been for the last 5 years. And then about 6 months ago, yes, we launched a podcast. And that's been a little bit different than, say, the Sunday night tweet-along that we've been doing every week. The podcast is an opportunity to sit down with other scholars and really investigate film and talk about films that people love and for the matter, and also their own scholarship.
Let's talk about a few of the films I've got in my notes here.
Sure.
One of my favorite films, although I don't think it has any historical accuracies, The 13th Warrior.
Yeah, 13th Warrior, we just did on the podcast last week. I was just texting the guys who were on it. Said, this is actually the third most popular podcast we've ever done, and it's only 9 days old. The 13th Warrior is an opportunity, even in silly films, it's the epic that wasn't, to go back and say, wait a second, Vikings, people from the Abbasid Empire, they all communicated. The medieval ages weren't just in England, and these weren't just stories about white people, right? We had an incredibly diverse time. So yes, it's an adaptation of Beowulf. Yes, it stars Antonio Banderas. Yes, at times it is a completely ludicrous film, but does not mean that we can enjoy the film and still talk about it. Absolutely. So it's absolute blast. One of my favorites.
What about Con Air and Platoon? Those two, kind of mix.
Oh, Con Air is great. I just had Kathleen Belew on. If you know anything about Kathleen Belew's work, she does so much really important historical commentary. She talks about the rise of paramilitary violence, white nationalism here in the United States, real things that really matter to us right now. And of course, we're talking to Kathleen, we had the opportunity to talk a little bit about her work, but it's also the opportunity to sit back and say, what the heck is going on with Nicolas Cage's accent? What is the Steve Buscemi multiverse? What's going on in this crazy movie? And that's a lot of fun because you can do both. And then at the same time, I had Rob Thompson on recently, who is a scholar of the Vietnam War, just wrote this terrific new book about Vietnam. And of course, Platoon is a little bit heavier of a film. And that's one of the things that I really try to stress with both the podcast and the Sunday nights is alternating back and forth between heavier films, lighter films, ensuring that we've got a tremendous amount of diversity for the audience before us. So we can talk about people of color, different races, different times, religions, sexualities, gender identification, all of those things, because ultimately what we're trying to do as scholars is understand the human experience. And you can't do that if you tell the same story over and over again.
How has this Historians at the Movies changed the way you view movies personally?
Boy, I tell you what, it really has. I came in, I wrote, I'm a scholar of the Native South and the environment. And I did this just because I grew up watching Star Wars and Indiana Jones and things like that. I'm a child of the 80s. And so when we first started off, we did National Treasure. And then the second film we did, like I said, was Lincoln. And we actually, we did a few other films along the way that were much more historical in nature. And I'm like, okay, we'll do history movies, straight up history movies. And it was somewhere along the line of doing Trading Places that my understandings of like what history films actually are, because films are commentaries not only on what they're talking about, but of the time themselves. So if you take a film like Trading Places or even Jaws or Jurassic Park, you can really not only talk about these topics, but you can talk about why these films matter and the relationships people have to those films. So when I ask people, hey, is this a history movie or not? Almost always the answer is yes.
Have you seen Drunk History? I know I've seen episodes of it.
I have indeed. And I would, I will tell you that I will often nurse a glass of wine, maybe not full on drunk, but certainly nurse a glass of wine while watching some of these films, especially something that's really problematic, something like Braveheart or something like that. So yeah, I have watched Drunk History. I've also watched Kunk on History, which came out recently on Netflix, which was a hoot. So yeah, absolutely. Done those. And I'll put on plug. There's a great thing on Friday nights called Drinking with Historians. I don't put it on. It's put on by a couple other scholars that you can find on Twitter. But Drinking with Historians is also grab a bourbon, make a Manhattan, and make yourself a drink and sit down and talk about some history that way. It's a lot of fun.
Where would you have plans for the future for your podcast? Where do you see it going, and anything coming for you?
Todd, I think really the best way to talk about historians in the movies is really in terms of global empire. I think really what I want to try to do is just take over the entire world through the love of National Treasure Platoon, any Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I'll tell you this. Here's what I want to do. I want to look at film as an opportunity to really investigate the past. I think the days in which we all sat in grade school when we were kids, and the substitute teacher came in on with the cart with the TV strapped down to it, and we thought, hey, we've got the day off. Right?
Yeah, I know. Oh yeah, that was
Those
great.
days are over. So how can we take the past and look through pop culture and say, wait a second, here's a real critical engagement, not only with the past, but with ourselves as a society. And I hope that in some ways HATM has a little bit of play in that, but ultimately the most important thing for Todd, and I really mean this, is the most important thing to me is building this community of people who are here, who know that they are welcome, that they belong, and they just want to have a good time. That's about it.
Well, Jason, we appreciate you being here with us this morning. It's fascinating. I'm going to check things out. It's Historians at the Movies. I imagine you have a YouTube channel. We're going to have some information in our post after the show where people can find you. But do you have a YouTube channel? Where can they watch the podcast?
They can find Historians at the Movies on any podcast provider. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify. The easiest way to find me is on Twitter at Herbert History. That's the easiest way to find me every Sunday night. And this Sunday night on Twitter, we're all live streaming. Live tweeting Return of the Jedi for its 40th anniversary. So a historical film, no doubt.
All right. Jason, thanks for being here. Dr. Jason Herbert. He is a historian, ethnographer, and a podcaster. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you in the future.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. We're going to turn things over to you, Joe, and you've got a special guest. We're talking AAPI month.
We definitely are, and a very special guest. You guys have seen her before. Lana McDowell, Communications Director for HCC Northwest. Welcome back to the show, Lana.
Thank you. It's fun to be back.
It definitely is. And it's really great that my first interview is with a fellow member of the HCC Communications team. You know, I'm excited about that because we get a lot of work done.
We do. I've been on my computer since 7 this morning working.
Same here. Well, you know what? We've discussed a lot about your background, which is multicultural, mix of Asian and Caucasian. Mm-hmm. And of course, your family origin as well as your own family has celebrated that. Can you talk to us a little bit about the celebrations that you guys have had, especially now that we're celebrating AAPI Heritage Month?
Yeah, you know, growing up, my mother's Caucasian, so you take the culture of your mother, you know, when you growing up, and so there was always this kind of dichotomy about what am I? You know, I look this way, but I speak this way, and I eat this kind of food. But it's something that we're very proud of. We're very proud of being part Filipino and celebrating the food, the way we dress, the way we speak, traveling there. It's just a lot of fun to have two cultures to kind of hang on to and celebrate.
And we're also celebrating a lot of what happens in the Filipino community and in culture in general. For example, Sesame Street has made some pretty big strides and a big announcement not too long ago. Just a quick little hint, my niece, she loves Sesame Street. So I hear her singing the songs all around, and I cannot get most of them out of my head. It's just like the Baby Shark song. So Sesame Street made a huge announcement. Talk about that announcement that they made and how important it is to the Filipino culture.
Yeah, well, Sesame Street went ahead and they introduced a Filipino-American Muppet. And that's important because there was really no representation out there for us Filipinos. We've been in the United States since the 1700s. And it just seems like recently we've been recognized. Now, my children grew up on Blue's Clues. So Steve left and then Joe came along and then Joe left. And then the person who replaced Joe was Filipino American. So it's really important for children to see themselves now on TV and their heroes as well.
Absolutely. I think that even speaks to one of the most recent movies that we talk about, just coming back with my culture. My niece, she cannot wait to go and see The Little Mermaid. And I know that was Other big topic. So Bailey, she is an amazing actress, a wonderful and incredible singer. But just like you mentioned with the Filipino culture, it's also important for every child to be able to see their own culture and themselves represented on television in these cartoons, in these movies, in these television shows. So amazing that Sesame Street was able to do that. And I know that's really important to the Filipino community.
Right. And you know, folks may not think that children see this, but I like to tell the story of my daughter. She was 6 years old. We're going back to Hawaii for Christmas, and we land, and the plane is taxiing to the gate, and she sees all these men out there, kind of directing the plane. And she looks at me and she goes, "Oh my God, Mom, everybody looks like us."
Oh, I love it.
That's really observant for a 6-year-old. I didn't think that she was thinking that way, but it's important for children to have those role models as well.
And I'm pretty sure not only does she look up to different characters in TV shows, but another amazing role model for her to look up to is Miss Universe.
Yes.
Let's talk about Miss Universe.
Miss Universe.
This amazing win that she's just done. I'm understanding that she's also from Houston.
She is. I understand she's from Friendswood. She started off as Miss Kima to Miss Houston, and then made her way to Miss USA, I believe, and then to Miss Universe. And that's incredible. And the backstory is not just that she's this incredibly talented young woman, but she's part Filipino. And she's like me. Her father's Filipino and her mother's Caucasian. So she grew up with those two cultures as well.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure just being able to train and really get all of that understanding of your being able to represent such a wide diverse of people, an amazing culture, an amazing community, and being able to do that on a national stage and being the very first Filipina to be able to do that. I mean, absolutely wonderful for her. And I'm sure everyone in your community was proud of that moment.
Oh, absolutely. We don't, she's Filipino first. That's how we see it. That's how our culture sees it. Filipino first. So yeah, we're very, very proud that somebody as beautiful, she's just gorgeous too, but really, really smart, is representing, an iconic competition. Everybody knows who Miss Universe is.
Mm-hmm. And you have to train so much for that competition, watching your diet. But you know what? We're going to get away from the diet and we're going to jump right into Filipino food. I'm from Louisiana. I love food and I love trying all different types of food. So talk a little bit about some of the food that we see within your culture. And of course, we just had someone on the show last week that talked about some of that food. We want to learn more about Filipino food and its popularity that it's going around right now, not even just in Houston, but all around the world.
Yeah. I keep telling everybody that the Filipino culture is having its moment, finally. And one of the reasons why is because Filipino food is now being featured on a lot of food shows and cooking shows, and more chefs who are Filipino are getting more popular. And Filipino food is it has Spanish names because we were colonized by the Spanish, but it's very Asian food. And our national dish is called adobo. Ooh. And it's delicious. And then we have a noodle dish called pancit, which is also very popular. And we have these egg rolls that are called lumpia. So as you can see, a lot of it is Asian based, but it's very uniquely Filipino. Yeah. And restaurants are popping up all over. We've got is it Flipping Burgers? They're incredible. Then there's Be More Pacific, which is kind of a fusion Filipino restaurant. So yeah, Filipino cuisine is coming to the forefront.
And I'm sure whenever we talk about these different types of cuisines, we also have to mention the people that eat these cuisines, which may be celebrities, not just regular people, but I'm sure a lot of celebrities are posting this on their Instagram, their social media to get the word out about how popular Filipino food is going. So let's talk about some of those celebrities. I'm sure there's a lot of Filipino celebrities that we may not know of that you may be able to share with us as we celebrate AAPI month.
Well, there's Dave Bautista. We all know Dave Bautista from all his, started off as a wrestler. And now he's quite a movie star. There's Rob Schneider, who used to be on SNL. Tia Carrera. You know, I remember when Tia first came out, she used to say that she was Chinese and Spanish. She wouldn't say she was Filipino. And that's kind of code for us going, oh yeah, she's Filipino. But now she embraces her Filipino heritage. There's this great comedian named Joe Coy, who's really brings to the forefront the culture. And it's just hysterical when he talks about his Filipino mother and everything that he grew up doing. And you just sit there going, oh my gosh, yeah, that happened to me, or we do that too. In Black Eyed Peas, there's, is it Apple the App? He is half African-American and half Filipino, but grew up in the Philippines. So I apologize, my dog has decided to bark.
He's excited.
He speaks full on Tagalog. I think he came to the US when he was 12 years old, but he has a song called Bebo, which means babe in Tagalog. And that song is so popular. In fact, I found out about this song because my dad was playing it when I walked into his house one day. I'm like, who are these? Who are you listening to? And he's like, Black Eyed Peas. There's a Filipino Black Eyed Peas. So, yeah. And Saweetie is Filipino. Olivia Rodrigo, Vanessa Lachey. There's so many part Filipino celebrities out there.
So many. And some of my favorites too, Bruno Mars and
yes.
Absolutely incredible performance that Bruno Mars put on with Beyonce at the Grammys.
Wasn't that incredible?
But at the Super Bowl, I mean, that's when I really was like, oh, this is talent.
Oh, yeah. And Bruno Mars grew up in Hawaii as, he was called Little Bruno, and he was an Elvis impersonator. His dad was in a Filipino musical group called Society of Seven. So, yeah, you represent. Absolutely.
We love the representation. So again, we want to go ahead and leave it there. And thank you so much for sharing all of that history and all of the culture and the food to the celebrities of AAPI as we celebrate AAPI Heritage Month. Lana, thank you again. You are a star yourself. We keep it going.
Yeah. Mabuhay.
Okay, so a little trivia.
We're going to have all of that information too.
So Lana, be more Pacific. I was just there a couple weeks ago. And I have made adobo.
Yes.
So I've also made lumpia, lumpias, and pancit as well. My daughter's mother is Filipino. So
there you go. So you
family, years ago, and so she was. I'd be in the kitchen cooking with her. So yeah.
That is awesome. Well, I want to say, because you're originally from Louisiana. Cracklins, we have a dish called lechon, which is similar to cracklins. Now, when we go to New Orleans or to Lafayette, we always stop and get cracklins. It's like, oh yeah, that to me is like, that's Filipino food.
I know. That's those cracklins are incredible. Yeah. Lana, thanks for being here. We look forward to seeing you in the future. All right.
Great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, Joe, we got a couple announcements. For the sake of time, I'm going to skip down to our second one about summer STEM camps, because those are real popular and you got to sign up your kids early. We've got summer STEM camps across the district. It's a partnership with Verizon. Free summer STEM enrichment programs for middle school students is part of Verizon's Innovative Learning STEM Achievers project, providing designers design thinking, 3D printing, augmented reality, and social entrepreneurship. It's at the West Houston Institute. Session 1 starts June 5th, and there's also one on the 23rd. So you want to sign up early. We'll have some information in our post after the show. And we've also got an exhibition going on across the district on Instagram.
Absolutely. Instagram One College exhibition is going to be happening. It's going to be our gallery walls for an exhibition that features all studio classes from all colleges in the Houston Community College system. Viewing the link is now available through August 14th, and it's absolutely free. It's going to be Instagram with HCC Visual Arts Center. That's where you're going to have to go to check it out, or you can go and check out at HCC_visual_arts. We're going to have all that information posted after our show as well. So amazing exhibition that people should go and check out.
Definitely. Okay, real quickly, I'm going to jump through 2 announcements. Monday, we're all off. Everybody knows that. Memorial Day. Up to the minute on Monday, 3-day weekend on tap. Registration for summer sessions and for fall, they're open right now, but you have to go to hccs.edu/apply. So, Joe, you were talking about barbecue. On Tuesday's show, we've got some special guests, Sharday Campbell and Darren Baskin, who'll be firing up the grill and giving us some barbecue recipes. So that's happening on Tuesday because I know you're excited about barbecue season.
You're going to have to bring me a plate because I'm ready for it. I want ribs, steak, and everything.
If you know Darren Baskin, he may be able to hook you up. So if you haven't met Darren, you got to meet him. So Darren's a big friend of the show here. Well, Joe, it's great having you on the show. I hope to get you back here again sometime soon. Thanks for being here. Seems like you may have done this before.
Yeah, I mean, just a little bit. And it's been wonderful being here with you as well. I really, really enjoy learning so much about the people that we have here in our system and in our community. I mean, absolutely incredible people and incredible stories.
We do. And we're going to continue bringing those to you. Joe, thanks for being here. All of you have a very safe weekend. Enjoy the day. Remember what this weekend is for. It's not just a 3-day weekend. It's especially Monday with being Memorial Day. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back on Tuesday live with Up to the Minute.